Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are working on the 1952 Chevy Styleline Deluxe still. If you are returning, thanks for coming back. If you are new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on the notification bell to make sure you get alerted whenever we have new content posted. Also, you can check out our Facebook, Instagram, Patreon accounts, and whatnot. So, having said all that garbage, yeah, we are still working on the 52 Chevy, and we're going to work on getting off the two front doors and getting them prepped for body work. Last video we got off the front bumper, most of the rear bumper, the grille, and the headlight trim. Just kind of we're working our way around the vehicle, stripping it down so we can take everything down and get that prepped for, of course, primer for sure. That's our primary goal, is to get everything set to go into primer. Not sure on the color yet what we're going to do, nor do we have a good clean place to do paint, or I'm not going to get trash in it, or a lot of trash. The garage here is probably going to need some sort of tinting done in here if we paint in here, just to kind of isolate it from everything else. So here are the doors. I've seen these before, of course. And this one is actually in pretty good shape with the exception of right down here. This is going to need to be bent in. And then the driver's side door is a little worse depending on what your perception is. Here is a crease in here. Needs to be pulled out. Here's a nice hard crease in here too. So then of course up into the front fender. So you can see we've also started working on a couple of the other spots already. They're easier to hit. So we're going to work on getting these two doors off. And the biggest problem I'm having, or one of them, is finding parts for this. So this was the actually working spot lamp, and it has the side view mirror attached to it. Well, it used to. And I can't find this side mirror assembly anywhere. I can find a lot of dummy lights. I don't want a dummy light. I can find a lot of hot rod type aftermarket stuff. I would like to keep this original. So if you have any ideas where one of these side mirrors would be hiding, please go ahead and let me know in the comments below. But for right now, let's get to the task at hand and get these doors off. Alrighty, so I already had these doors off a couple years ago. I replaced the door seals, which I've apparently done a horrible job at. But none of these bolts here should be rusted in like the rears were, so we have just a couple of 9/16ths. And let me find some better light and move the camera, and we'll get those off. That's not going to work. There's one door. Oh, and my rear end. Go check out this side. Now here we have the wire for the light. So I've got to be mindful of that. It looks like it's held in with a couple of Phillips screwdrivers, or Phillips screws. Let me go ahead and back this piece out here first to get this door stop out. All right, be very mindful of this cable here and just make it shorter on one end. Now let's go ahead and this off with my hands in your way. All right, now we can take these off, and then this door will come right off. There we go. Alrighty, there we go. I've got the doors, and you can see these. Yeah, these are the original ones, I think. Yeah, they look to be the original ones. The original door gaskets. I've got another set of them somewhere that I have not put in yet. But we've got those. Which are still somewhat intact. Otherwise, the inside door frames, they're not rusted out or anything. A little bit of rust underneath this little chrome strip here, but we'll address that as we go along. But of course, everything inside interior-wise needs to come out. I think that's going to be one of our next tasks, is to take down the headliner. Because that's going to be more of the smell of mouse. And if we can get rid of the mouse smell, that's going to help a lot. You can see under there where they've been urinating, and hole over there. There's a hole under that sun visor. Yank it out and take pictures of it so we know how to replace it. With what to replace it with, actually. So there's more stuff on my lens. So for right now, we've got the doors off, and those are going to stay indoors here for a while so I can work on them. And I think we're going to keep working around the rest of the panels, get the rest of the trim off the two front fenders behind the door there, and then the little piece of trim right up between the front and rear door. And that's going to be it for window. That's going to be it, that's going to be it for the trim until we take out the front and the back glass. So that's kind of going to be one of the next things. So headliner, trim, glass, and then I think we can really start cranking down on sanding down the body and taking care of any other dings and dents there and get that ready for primer. So for right now, we are going to work on getting these two doors stripped down and ready for some more prep work. All right, folks, it is time to work on the front doors, and you've seen me go through the two back doors to get them stripped off inside, so we're not going to do a play-by-play on that. But you can see this panel, of course, is trashed. It was wet from the door seals being destroyed. And I've got new seals that I put on a couple years ago. In the door jamb here, and then as well in the actual vent window here, I replaced those as well. So get this window back out, all these parts off on both sides, and then get to the body work. So let's just get to it. All right, you might be asking me why I was putting a guide coat on the door before I even started doing any sanding on it or anything. And I kind of wanted to see where I was at. I didn't notice I had a little scratch in here, dent actually. I knew about this one, but there are a few other marks that have become apparent as I threw on the guide coat. So it's all going to get sanded off anyways. I just kind of wanted to get a baseline of how bad this door panel was. So let this dry for a minute, and then I'm just going to start hitting it with the soft sander and go from there. Alrighty, so let me grab you here real quick. As I expected, I would find some more imperfections. We've got some right in here you can see. Of course, this big one we found. There is a little divot over here. Oh, there was one or two more I saw. One over here. And that's it for big ones that I found on the first pass. So of course our biggest concern right here is this corner, which we'll need to get the dollies out and hammer back down. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and work on stripping this door down and get it ready for a little bit of filler and skim coat. I don't think I'm going to try and bother to hammer this out from the backside. Maybe I'll give it a few taps, but certainly going to need a quick skim coat to wrap it up and move on. So we'll hit that. These guys here definitely are just going to be skim coat, and then of course hit this with the body dollies. So let's get to it. Alrighty, we're going to give a shot here about knocking this dent or this bend down and see what we come up with. All right, well that's a heck of a lot better than it was. There's still a little bit of dimpling right in here, but that's just because this was actually creased and bent in a little bit. So now that we've got this contour back here a lot better, we can go ahead and get the paint stripped off this thing and see where else we've got some body work to do. Alrighty, well, I've got pretty much the top layer of everything ground off, and you can see there's definitely some low spots from the past. Down here, a few spots, here and here. So definitely put some filler and just keep on working the paint off of the door here. We're not going to sit through the entire thing because that'd be more boring for you, I think, than it is for me. So we're going to go ahead and work on this door. We'll come back probably once we get to working on the other door over there. And something we'll want to look at is this mirror, fully functioning mirror. It's just broken, missing the side view mirror part of it. So we'll look into that. If anybody knows where to find one, please let me know. Otherwise, for right now, we will just keep working on the door. So stay tuned. All right, folks, we're back, and we've been making progress on getting at least 2 of our doors all stripped from paint and ready for primer almost. I've gone ahead and done a little more work on fill in some of the low spots, and as we got all the paint knocked off, there were a bunch of more little spots I noticed that needed some help. So we've gone ahead and taken care of that. And aside from hitting some of the cavities, like in here, whatnot, with the rust inhibitor, these are pretty much ready for primer and sealer. So our goal is to get the other 2 doors ready, one over here and one over there. And I wanted to try just sort of an experiment with some clean strip and see if that'll get us a little better result for removing paint and not killing Tim. I've got probably 6 or 7 hours in stripping all the paint off of the doors a piece. And granted, I was just using my my drill with a abrasive pad on it. I went out and picked these up from Amazon in hopes that once I throw that on my angle grinder, that'll help out quite a bit as well. But if we can cut the actual manual labor time down considerably, my back and my arms will be ever thankful. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap some of this clean strip on there and see what we get. Basically, pour it on, brush it on, cover it up and let it sit for a little bit, and the paint should actually kind of curl up or peel up, whatnot, and then you should be able to scrape it off, and any other areas that are left, you can either recoat or just hit with your abrasive pad, grinding wheel, or wire wheel, whatever you happen to be using. So let's go ahead and lay some of that down and see what we get. Alrighty, so if I muffled too bad, I'm wearing my mask. So we're gonna go ahead and slather some of this on here. And yes, I've got a small brush. Not gonna go dig a big one out right now. Just kind of using this as a baseline. Alrighty, so I'm going to let that sit for about 10 minutes just to kind of use that as a baseline and see how it goes and come back. So instead of watching paint dry, you can watch paint peel.
Alrighty, well, we're back. It's been about 10-15 minutes. You can see some of the paint here is just starting to run down the car and drip off. I've got a drop cloth down below me to catch, so let's just start trying to scrape off. Now look at that. Yeah, I pulled the top coat right off the main paint. I'm gonna go throw a little more down here and see if it doesn't lift up the primer underneath. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and let this sit for about 10 minutes again, come back and see if we've lifted up any of this primer. Alrighty, well, we got not a whole lot of action on the primer, so that does not seem to want to come off, but if we can at least get the layer of paint off, that's going to take half the battle away from getting this door and the rest of the vehicle cleaned up. All right, so now that we know this is kind of going to work, kind of debatable if I'm going to do it on the whole car or just sand it all off by hand. So I'm going to take a crack at getting the primer off with the grinder and the abrasive pad and see what we get. But who knows? So for now, I'm going to clean up the garage, let it air out because it stinks in here a lot, even through the mask. And we'll figure out how we're going to proceed.
All right, folks, we are back, and what has been just a quick transition for you has been probably the better part of 2 weeks for me here. I've been working on getting all 4 doors prepped for primer, and I'm working on the last door here, a little bit of glaze coat. I am very happy that I decided to strip the doors down all the way to bare metal because I found so many imperfections and dings, like all these here, down here, that I did not see under paint. There's a bunch of items here. So initially, this door, for example, I knew there was a big crease, a big dent in here and a crease right here. And I knew, okay, I'll fix that, no big deal. I pulled that dent out and have a little bit of filler and glaze in there just because this area was behind the inner door panel, so I could not get at it with my dolly to hammer it out. So while I did do some work with the stud gun, there was some imperfection left to take care of with filler. So, but what I did not see in paint was damage down here and just tons of little dings and marks in other areas of the door. So getting everything down to bare paint, it was a lot of work. I'm not going to deny that. In the end, I think the result is going to be far better than just scuffing up the paint and shooting over that. I'm going to have a better base to lay everything down with. That's not going to flake off because the paint underneath is garbage. And hopefully, if my painting doesn't horribly suck, I'll end up with a decent result for the finished product. Now, when I first started cranking away, I was just using my angle grinder with a wire wheel, and that worked really well for getting in some of the cracks and crevices, but it took forever to get the paint and primer off the body. Then I upgraded to one of these sort of rubbery abrasive wheels on my drill. That was a pretty good step up. Still took forever, so I went out to Amazon and picked up a box of these stripping discs. Again, they're kind of an abrasive rubbery material, and that knocked off the paint and primer a whole lot quicker. It probably took maybe an hour and a half to do a door. Then I got thinking, well, let's work smarter, not harder. I was watching Larry over at Ammo NYC when they were redoing his Porsche, however you want to say it, and they used some of the clean strip, aircraft stripper, to get his paint and primer off. So I figured, hey, let's give it a shot on my last door here. And I got the stripper on, I let it sit for 40 minutes at once, and the paint pretty much slid right off. Actually, it dripped off. Nothing kept that on. But the primer still stuck to this stuff like glue. So I tried another application of the clean strip, and it did not come off. So better or worse, I just had the primer to attack, and I went and hit it with my angle grinder and one of these strip discs, and the primer knocked right off. Probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get the main part of the door here cleaned up. Of course, there's a lot of little nooks and crannies and crevices in here, a little bit left to finish up. But all this area, took considerably longer, but the main parts of the door, once you get that stripper on there, the paint fell right off, and the stripper or the primer came off much easier. So I think that's a big time savings, and going along with the rest of the car, there's a lot of real estate that I didn't want to sit there with a grinder with. So I think the stripper is going to be the way to go in that route, at least in terms of time saving. So that's going to be that process, I think. But the next thing we're going to do is get these guys prepped for paint. Prepped for paint, sorry. That'll be the next video. Actually, in a couple of weeks, that one will come out. But before we do that, we've got to clean up this disaster area of a shop. 2 weeks ago, everything was clean. If you remember when I started taking the doors off and the trim off and everything, workbench was clean, everything was organized, and now it looks like a tornado came through here. I don't know how that happened so quickly. I guess it just proves I need more space for all of my projects. That will be in the shop down the hill at some point down the road. So anyways, I'm gonna get this area cleaned up, get all the doors cleaned up. They've all been hit with 80 grit. Before I actually prime everything, I'm gonna run through it again with some cleaner, probably sand it with 220 and shoot the primer. But get everything cleaned up, get the storage plasticed off, get of course the ground all cleaned off from dust, kick dirty car number 1 and dirty car number 2 outside for the weekend. And then this will be my very large paint booth for the weekend. So for right now, that's gonna do it for this video. We've got the doors probably 90% ready to go for paint. I'm gonna, like I said, reserve that last brush over with the 220 right before I paint them so I can make sure any other material, rust, surface grit crap that got on the door, I can knock that off, as well as clean it with my spray away, and get the doors prepped off and ready for primer. The goal is to put 3 coats of primer and sealer on there. I've got the good old family of Nason stuff down here stashed away. So I'll put my DTM direct to metal, shoot that first here in the areas that are not covered with the filler, and then hit it with, I'm thinking 3 coats of the primer, and then we will hit it with guide coat, block sand it, and wash, rinse, and repeat until it looks good. So until that comes out, thank you for watching. If you have not yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Also follow us over on Instagram and Facebook at Doc's Autos. And we will be sure to catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, let me fix my hat. Blah, get rid of those. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Thanks for checking us out. If you have not yet, hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell to make sure you are... All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. If you are new, thanks for checking us out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on the notification. I can't talk.